guys, welcome back into the channel. In today's video, we're doing a viewer requested video to detail what all of the sliders mean within College Football 25. This is a really good opportunity for us to dive into the sliders. Some things have changed, not a whole lot of things have changed from Madden. A great deal of this game has been kind of copy and pasted from Madden as far as menus, settings, sliders, and those things are concerned. It is worthwhile, however, in my opinion, to kind of dive into what is the same, what has changed, what does everything mean, so that you guys can utilize sliders to improve your gameplay within this game. In order to get to your gameplay sliders in Dynasty mode, which is the primary mode that I play and most of my viewers play, you're going to simply press the right bumper, left bumper, or R1, L1 in order to get over to Dynasty Central. And there's just a general tab here for gameplay sliders. Now we can go into later in this video a little bit of information about some of the other settings and sliders that are available, but we're primarily going to focus on player skill, CPU skill, special teams, game options, and penalties. Most of these sliders are very straightforward. Realistically, the only thing that is maybe a little bit confusing once we break this down as a whole is going to be the fumble slider, because this is the one that has changed on Madden, but has not changed on College Football 25. And it's interesting because this is essentially taken from older Madden games, but Madden actually updated this. Anyway, the general way that most of these sliders is going to work is if you increase the slider, you increase what the skill says it is. So one by one going through here, if I increase the quarterback accuracy number from 55 to 60, I'm going to get better quarterback accuracy. Likewise, if I increase the pass blocking slider, I'm going to get better pass blocking. If I decrease those, I'm going to get worse performance at those things. If I increase catching, I'm going to get better catching from my receivers, more often caught balls, less dropped footballs. If I decrease it, worse catching, more dropped footballs. If I increase run blocking, same thing as those ones, better run blocking. If I decrease it, worse run blocking. However, the fumble slider is not actually a fumble increase and a fumble decrease. What they did in Madden this year is they actually changed the name of this to ball security. So think about it that way, because this one has been confusing people for a very long time, and it has always been this way. People argue with me up and down on this, but I can guarantee you 100% for a fact that this is how it operates. If you increase this slider, you will see less fumbles. You will therefore see increased ball security, and that's why they renamed this slider within Madden to be a ball security slider. You turn it up for less fumbles. You turn it down for more fumbles. It is an inverse slider. It's one of the only ones that works that way, and I can 100% state that without a shadow of a doubt. Moving on, we then have pass defense reaction time. This one is maybe not super obvious, but this is essentially going to adjust how quickly a defender, once the ball is thrown, adjusts and moves towards the football. Now, this is going to change, and all of these sliders are going to change how much they really impact the game, depending on which skill level you're on. If you are on Heisman, for an example, pass defensive reaction timing is already very quick. So changing this slightly makes it even quicker reaction. In All-American and lower skill levels, you have to change this quite a bit to really see an impact, to really see players start to attack the football and that type of thing. But again, if you increase this slider, you're going to increase their reaction timing capability or performance. So they're going to react quicker. If you turn this down, they're going to react slower. If you turn up interceptions, they're going to intercept the ball easier. Turn it down, they're going to drop more interceptions. Pass coverage is related to pass defense reaction timing, but it's not the same thing. Pass coverage is simply being in the right place at the right time. Are these guys getting to their zones appropriately? Are they marking the players that come into their zones appropriately? Are they getting sucked away from where they should be? Are they on their man? Are they sticking to their man when they're in man coverage, and those types of things? The higher you increase it, the tighter coverage will be. The more receivers, tight ends, pass catchers are actually covered. You turn this down and you're going to open it up more. They're not going to have as tight of coverage. So you can kind of play with these two sliders and get a whole lot of different effects. You can increase pass coverage to have tighter coverage, but decrease pass defense reaction timing and interceptions so that it's not as OP whenever they break on the football. They'll be in the right positions and they'll try to make plays, but they're not always going to just glitch to intercept the ball. That's how a lot of realistic leagues work. You can also do it the other way, where you reduce the pass coverage capability so players get open a little bit more, but you can make it so that defenders react a little bit better when that ball is thrown. So you can do different things with those couple of sliders, and it's pretty nice. You can get different effects with the combination of these three sliders specifically. And finally, we get to the tackling slider. And the tackling slider is exactly what it sounds like. If you increase it, you're going to increase players' capability of tackling. If you decrease it, you're going to decrease tackling capability. But I think there's some things that go a little unspoken here with this slider. You will see better pursuit, better tackling angles with a higher tackling slider. You will see better performance across the board on defense once the ball is in a ball carrier or receiver's hands if the tackling slider is higher. And I think that the effects of this are actually increased quite a bit on College Football 25. If you increase the tackling slider, you're going to notice generally better defense. Now, obviously that's going to be independent of pass defense reaction timing, pass coverage, and those types of things, but you're going to see generally better pursuit, better angles, better tackling, and those types of things. It's still not going to be perfect by any means, but if you want to see better defense, increase the tackling slider. Straight off the bat, if you want to see better tackling, increase the tackling slider. That one is one that I feel like has maybe changed a little bit over the years. Maybe it's just not been as noticeable in past years, but I think it goes a little bit beyond just the tackling rating within the game and their ability to simply execute a tackle once they have a guy wrapped up. That's just based on what I've been seeing and based on what we've tested. We've played on higher, we've played on lower. I honestly really like it on higher because it makes defenses play a little bit more realistic in this game. As far as the CPU version of these sliders is concerned, they all represent the same thing. For player skill, these all represent increasing or decreasing players' capability for a user team. Now, again, this will affect depending on how you play a game. You can actually turn your simulation speed to slow within a game, and you can simulate a game and watch the CPU play against the CPU. Now, there's a little bit of confusion that happens amongst people. Well, isn't player skill just whenever I'm controlling a specific player? And isn't CPU skill all of the players that I'm not controlling? No, that's not the case. Player skill is completely dictating the entire user's team. If you are controlling a team within a game, every single player is going to be dictated by the player skill sliders. If you are going against a CPU team, that CPU team's performances are going to be completely dictated by the CPU skill sliders. And as I mentioned with all of these do the exact same things. QB accuracy, increase for better accuracy. Pass blocking, increase for better pass blocking. Wide receiver catching, increase for better catching. Run blocking, increase for better run blocking. Fumbles is an inverse slider. Increase this if you want to see better ball security and less fumbles. It's the one that's inverse. Pass defense reaction time, increase for better pass defensive break on the ball. Interceptions, increase for more interceptions, more caught balls on the defensive side. Pass coverage, increase it for tighter pass coverage, and tackling, increase it for better tackling, better pursuit angles, and those types of things. Moving right along, we'll talk a little bit about special teams because it is worthwhile. These ones are relatively straightforward. Field goal power, punt power are going to dictate how far a ball can be kicked with certain ratings, with kick power ratings. So at a 90 kick power as kind of a baseline, you'll only be able to kick it a certain distance within the game, not factoring in wind and weather within the game. If, though, you turn up field goal power, you're going to be able to kick it from further with the same rating. And same thing with a punt. You'll be able to punt it further. As far as game options are concerned, injuries, you turn up for more injuries, you turn down for less injuries. That one's pretty straightforward. I've seen people play on various different numbers. I like somewhere in the 40 range. Seems to be a pretty realistic number, maybe even a little bit higher than that. The fatigue slider, you're going to increase it for players to get fatigued faster, which means they're going to be out of breath more often. You'll see that on the field, especially with players like running backs, linebackers, and whatnot. You'll see them hunched over, kind of panting whenever they get tired. They'll get tired quicker with a higher rating. And in my opinion, that's one that everybody should play with within college football, because it's going to create more opportunities for other players to sub in and rotate, like what happens in real football. And then the more confusing, maybe the most confusing slider within this game is the minimum player speed threshold slider, because it really doesn't, in my opinion, directly make sense unless you have an explanation for it. When you turn this up, you are going to close the speed gap between players. When you turn this down, you are going to open up the speed gap between players. So if I turn this up to 55, now a 99 speed player and 90 speed player are not going to feel as different in speed. If I were to turn this down, a 99 speed player and a 90 speed player are going to feel very different in speed. And this is where you start to really notice differences between things like quarterbacks, linebackers, defensive linemen getting after the quarterback and whatnot. If you want to see more escapability from your quarterback, from players in the backfield, turn speed threshold down. In my opinion, in college football 25, you don't need to do that. Speed is already quite a bit of a differentiating factor within this game. If anything, you turn this up a little bit to something like 55, and it just closes the gap a little bit to make the game not quite as wide open as it might seem right off the bat. And for a lot of people in dynasties, this is an important slider because speed can be used, abused, and cheesed. And if you turn up the speed threshold, you're going to close that gap a little bit and make speed a little bit less important, a little bit less cheesy and abusive within your dynasties. And finally, we have all of the penalty sliders. They are all very straightforward. If you increase these, you will increase the rate at which these penalties are called. If you decrease them, you will decrease the rate at which penalties are called. So you have offsides, false start, holding, face mask, defensive pass interference, illegal block in the back, and roughing the passer. Generally speaking, we turn these down now. We turned them up for a while and got good performance out of it and some realistic gameplay, but then they started messing with the game and penalties were getting called way too often. So now we just kind of turned it back to base and turned a couple of them down, actually. And then we always turn off some of these. You have offensive pass interference, we turn on catch interference, we have on intentional grounding, we have on, but we always turn off roughing the kicker, running into the kicker, and illegal contact. There have been so many times within this game where it's been an issue where it's like constant that your guys that are trying to block a field goal are hitting the kicker. And it's just not realistic how often it happens and those types of things, or hitting the punter and whatnot. It happens all the time. I'm not sure if they've actually fixed that to this point within this game, but you're just better safe than sorry just to turn these off, to be honest with you. And then just to kind of give you a general overview of the other settings that are within this game, you have XP sliders within this game. These are fairly straightforward. You turn them up to increase how quickly players earn XP and progress within the game. We actually play on 150 because progression in this game is pretty slow. And then you have some other settings within league settings here that can be used to affect your gameplay quite a bit. Really, the primary ones are going to be whether or not you have wear and tear on or off, injuries on or off, and play call cooldown and play call limit. Just to kind of give you a quick breakdown of those things, the play call cooldown is going to be how many plays have to pass before you can call the same play again, and play call limit is how many times in a single game you can call an individual play. So let's say I run stretch out of a certain formation, I have to wait 2 more plays before I can call that same stretch play again, and I can only call that stretch play 6 times in a single game. Now, again, you can play with these for what works within your dynasties, but that can impact the game quite a bit. And then you have your clock management stuff, which I also recommend you play with. We have it on 7-minute quarter length and a 25-minute minimum play clock time, just to explain that for you in case you're unaware. 7 minutes is how long your quarters are going to be. 25 seconds is what the clock is going to run down to. So every play clock is 40 seconds. Whenever you go to snap the ball, or whenever you go to kind of line up and start your play, it's going to automatically run down to 25 seconds because I have that set to 25. You could set it to 20, so it automatically runs down to 20. A lot of realistic leagues increase their quarter length and decrease the minimum play clock time so that you can do less adjustments before the play and more play time is running in between every single play. More so in NFL football. Sometimes in college football, teams like to snap the ball with very little time on the clock. They like to use as much play clock as possible and control the pace of the game. They like to take ownership of the time of possession within the game. So if you want to be a little bit more realistic in Dynasty mode, sometimes you can kind of play around with those settings as well. But realistically, that's all I have for you. That is a definitive explanation of all the sliders and most of the settings within the game. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on sliders within the game. What difficulty do you guys play on? We play most of our leagues on All-American with adjusted sliders because that feels the most like college football to us, and we actually get really good results with that. We've tried Heisman. We're not bad at Heisman. It just doesn't play fun and realistic to us to college football. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are you guys playing on? Are you guys hardcore Heisman players? Are you totally against playing on All-American and that type of stuff? I just don't have fun on it. I mean, like, I can go in there and sweat every game on Heisman, but it's just not fun. And it doesn't play like college football to me. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you have some specific slider recommendations, leave those in the comment section below as well. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good one.